So if you're a listener to this podcast, you know I recently interviewed Jeff Hoffman, the former CEO of Priceline. And Jeff has spent the last several years flying around the world, trying to make an impact in the world in every place that he can. And in one of my podcasts, I said the 8.5 things I learned from Jeff Hoffman. One of those things is there is no they. So there's nobody coming. There's nobody to go do the things that need to be done in the world. If it needs to be done in the world, it needs to be done by us. Now, you may not want to go save the whales. You may want to go save children. You may want to go help someone here. You may not want to help someone there. You have to find your place in the world where you want to give. My next guest has figured that out. He calls himself a steward of the earth and a champion of the poor, which almost moves me to tears. He's been named one of the world's most compassionate entrepreneurs. And if you watch the videos and the links that I put in there, you're going to see that David Katz really is a big-hearted, open-hearted man who is using that to make a difference in the world. He's a businessman, he's a TEDx speaker, a humanitarian. He's married all of those into his latest project. He's the founder and CEO of Plastic Bank, which is an internationally recognized solution to the ocean plastic problem. Plastic Bank is a global network of micro recycling markets that empower the poor to transcend poverty by cleaning the environment. This is ridiculously brilliant. So I'm going to let David talk a little bit more about that. David, thank you for being here on the show.
Mark, thanks for having me on the show. That's really beautiful. Thank you for all the kind words. Thank you.
I was moved to tears several times in doing research for this conversation, because when I see someone open their heart to figure out how they want to connect with the world, because when you talk about the people that Plastic Bank helps, your voice cracks. Like it's not about the money. It's not even about the recognition. It's about, I think what you said is you want to rid people of pain.
Correct.
So I'm curious how this journey started. You're a business guy.
Yeah. There's so much in that last statement. So much inside of that. We are the accumulation and summation of every experience and every decision we've ever made. I mean, that is the truth of it. I'm often asked, where did it start? How did it start? I don't know. It started everywhere. I think that what's in it is that I was able to look at everything and say, where's the gift in it? What is there for me? If life is a gift, my improbability of existence has been beaten by my existence here. And because I exist, if it's a gift that I exist, then everything that occurs inside of it is as well a gift. So I think I just, had so much pain in my life that I was able to understand that it was not an obstruction, but an instruction. Where does wanting to rid the world of pain come from? That came from my very, very first memory. That was my origin of being. And my origin of being was being at my father's knee, trying to pull him away while he was beating my mother. So, I was like 3. And it occurred for me that fear can exist. It occurred for me something catastrophic can exist, and that I want to keep that from happening. So I can look at that as a gift now for the work that I do in the world. Like, oh, okay. Nothing occurred to me. It was past. It doesn't exist anymore, but I get to use that as a superpower and say, that's fine. I'll wear a cape with that one. Give me that. What else you got? I'll put a cape on that too. And that's it in the nutshell. It's like I'm just trying to be authentic in it and be in who I am. Fraught with all of the challenges and difficulties. I had all kinds of, what others would say is insurmountable pain. I've been able to come through with a whole bunch of scars, beat up and bruised, but I get through and I get my hand up. I'm like, I made it. mother truckers, like I did it. And here I am. I survived the loss of a child.
Mm.
You know? So there's just a lot that, woo. And it's beautiful. I wouldn't change it for a thing. I just keep doing what I'm doing. It's fun. And the journey's the destination. And it's in the becoming. And it's not about accomplishing anything. There is nothing to accomplish. There's only now. It's only the very present moment of my life, the being of it all. There's love in my heart right now. Oh, it's beautiful. That's awesome.
I know there's love in your heart, because I've got tears. So I'm feeling it. So if I may slow you down,
Sure.
you're not just spewing spiritual platitudes. These are hard fought truths and experiences for yourself. Why? How, which came first, the pains and the tragedies, or the fortitude to actually reframe them into something useful? How did that alchemy happen? Because I have similar experiences, which I'll share in a moment.
Yeah. When did I learn that it's all a gift? I think it came, a life of, set aside the conditionality of life. Set aside that, my messed up parents, my, you know, violent, extremely violent father, just abusive. We were brother and sister were talking a few years back about how happy we were when he finally died. Like, it was just that level of of trauma and judgment and condition and everything else that occurred in my life. And when I was about, well, I guess I was about 30. How old was I when Ella was born? So Ella was born, and that was the first time I really had it was such a confrontation, because she was my second child, and when she was born, we were given the immediate diagnosis that she was born with Down syndrome. And for me, I thought that was just going to be an additional judgment on self, that it was a condition, like people wouldn't, people wouldn't accept me, people wouldn't receive me, people would think that I'm not good enough, people think that I had done something wrong, they would think that I deserved it, or all of these stories in my head at the time. And it took me years to come through that. There was just so much to give up, because she was just so present. There was nothing but to give up the condition that I had been given, that had me from truly receiving all of the beauty and the gift of her. All of the authenticity and self-expression and play and joyfulness and grumpiness and stubbornness and all of the beauty. And so I had these 17 years of being with someone who taught me so much. But it's not that she actually taught me anything. I was just talking this out loud right now. It's not that she was teaching, but what was occurring for me was I was able to give up. It was just in her, I was able to put down all those things. I didn't need to carry all of those things. So I had that self-confrontation along the way. Carefrontation. That's what occurred for me. Self-care. And then June 17th, 2018, we lost her unexpectedly. We were away on vacation, and so there was a lot to learn in that. Turns out I had more to give up. Turns out there's just so much to give up all the time. I didn't even know I had that much to give up. I continue finding things that I've got to give up and surrender. And all of the beauty of that. And yeah, I don't know all of it. I'm just rambling now, but where did it come from? It came from my life. It came from my life. So beautiful things that I just want to steward. And I'm like, oh, I can see inside people's eyes. And I wasn't able to do that before. There was so much condition that, I remember seeing people with disabilities before we had Ella, and I'd have judgment over them. And, I think, oh, poor people and things like that. It was just me. I thought I was poor. I had so much judgment in my life. I thought everyone was judgeable.
So you let go of all those judgments, and you were able to experience your daughter.
Exactly.
And now that gift is you can experience people who are different or seem to be suffering, and you can actually
Exactly.
experience them without your own
Look inside
condition.
of them. Exactly. To
You know,
see
Pema Trojan often has said, and this was actually one of the things that saved my life when I was at my lowest and I was suicidal and I was sick and I didn't know how I was going to go on. I had two sons, so I knew I was going to. She said, when tragedy strikes, you have the opportunity to either shut down and harden or open and soften.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember making the absolute decision and choice to open and soften.
Right. Yep.
Right. So the gift of being in the depths is that I can sit in the depths with anybody else.
Right. Exactly.
And you know, so that's that gift.
Exactly.
So now you have this capacity to feel others.
Yes. Yeah. More so. Yeah.
So is that the impetus to dedicate your life to alleviating pain?
I again, it's all of it. And then, you know, one of the
I'm a podcast host, so my job is to try and like squeeze it down into something usable, right? But no, I totally get that it's all of it.
And it was, but and yes, and then it was the, you know, images of decomposing albatross chick in Midway Island some 12 years ago by Chris Jordan, who really was my canary in a coal mine. And I saw these decomposing corpses of chicks, like countless birds dying from the ingestion of plastics. The starving full, they'd been, you know, the parents had gone out and came back and regurgitated all this material. And the chick died. And I was just so pained by it. So pained, so deeply moved by the need of it. I understood then that it was a catastrophe that was unfolding that people were not aware of. And then if it was in the middle of the ocean, truly Midway, like the most remote piece of land in the world, I believe. And if it was occurring there, it was occurring everywhere. And something had to be done. And, you know, you part of the introduction was this, is like everyone says someone should do something about it, but it really, that is the second conversation. No one just immediately arrives at that. What occurs is they go, oh, I'm touched by that. I want to do something about that, but I don't know how. So someone else should, because that's more immediate, because that's less confronting of self. Let someone else do that. I don't have the power to do it.
So what do you do with something like that? Because anytime you try and take on anything bigger than your ego is comfortable with,
right?
The voices are, who are you to do this?
Oh, that maybe encountered my conversation, but it's really, I love sharing it because it was just so profound for me, because really what led me to the plastic bank wasn't the idea of the plastic bank at all, and the enormity of it all, because then I had all of the ego mind that showed up and said, oh, who are you to do that? Like, what? It was super loud conversation. It was like, oh my goodness, everything, like the ego is just like, rah. And then I had this like moment of consciousness, like I had a very quiet moment, maybe my first moment of consciousness, because everything went quiet. And it was just, David, you don't need to be the person that can get it done. You only need to decide to slowly choose to become the person who gets it done. So it wasn't about being the person. It wasn't about being the person. It's about becoming the person. Because that's a moment by moment phenomenon. That's now I'm choosing, now I'm choosing, now I'm choosing. Now, oh, what am I fraught with now? Like, oh, okay, now I get to choose again. Well, oh, okay, I got hit by a truck. Okay, now what do I choose? So it's about that journey. I just love the expression that the journey is the destination, because that is the truth of it. There is no destination. The destination is only some other now. I only have now. The only thing that could ever exist, will ever exist, has ever existed is right now, the very present moment. I have memory pathways to another now, or in the future something might happen, but it only happens in the now. Now, the journey of now.
So Steve Chandler, author, coach, godfather of coaching, he says the answer to how is yes. So it's in the commitment of saying yes.
Yes,
that you show up, that all the resources show up, that the people show up.
Yes, that's providence. Absolutely. Yeah, the world then conspires. Yeah.
So the two-edged sword of bringing up your dad Your dad is what inspired your love of the ocean also, right?
Absolutely. No, it was a mariner. We built a 47-foot sailboat. We sailed the coast of North America together. Mostly, I joined him for a good portion of it. We was rescued at sea as he had a heart attack. I had to call Mayday when I was 15 years old. You had to take command of the boat and sail us to shore, and then communicate with the Coast Guard. Having been through, calling and communicating a Mayday. While my dad's giving me all of his jewelry, telling me his, last testament for my mother. Like, what? So, but not only was that the love of the ocean, but that's ultimately what had me uncover in that moment that if it was to be, it was up to me. So there was a lot in that too. I survived that. Survived another 10 years. They sent a helicopter and a cutter, and they found us with a helicopter, and they took him off and flew him back to a place called Fort Bragg, California, which is where I think at 15 was the first time that I'd really experienced humanity, community, and love.
At Fort Bragg?
Yeah.
Why? Because of the way they cared for you and your dad?
Well, my dad was in the hospital. I was on the boat, and they had me tied up at a government dock or something like that. And I was there for a number of days and nights on my own. And people kept bringing food. And they continued to offer me rides and stuff and things.
So you have an idea.
Yeah.
And you want to bring it to the world, and it's audacious. Yeah. It's crazy, actually.
Yep.
And
it's so self-evident at the same time as well, because it's just plastic is money, right? It's a monetary standard.
So talk about what plastic bank is, so that I can use the context. Tell people what it is.
So I'm gonna express it, and I'm gonna express it so it's very easy to understand, and I'll tell you how we do it. We're the world's largest chain of stores for the poor, like for the ultra poor. Turns out there is no other chain of stores for the ultra poor, so you could have 2 stores, but we have 500 locations that are stores for the poor, where everything in the store can be purchased using plastic garbage only. So it's school tuition, Wi-Fi, medical insurance, everything the poor need that they can't afford, using garbage as money. That's it. And then ultimately, really, we're bank branches. It's a plastic bank. We're bank branches. So you come in, there's a teller, and you recognize, you identify yourself through the application. Here's my account. I bring up your account. Then you bring in the material. They sort it. They weigh it, and then they deposit it into your account. It's the same as bringing in currency. You're coming into the bank. You got a whole bunch of bills, and they count it, and they look at it, and they sort it, and they determine the value of it, and they deposit it into your account. Now you get a digital account. And then through the account, you can buy everything you need. You can just take out some of the cash or keep some in the account, take all the cash out. You have the ability to use the money at countless locations where you could pay for school tuition or go to a participating pharmacy and get pharmaceuticals. So we just, I love this, I use this parable like this, I don't know where it came to me from, but it was this fields of diamonds. It was talking about being present, but fields of diamonds, you're walking over a field of diamonds, but there's no store that you could spend the diamonds at, no bank you could deposit them at, nothing you can do with the diamonds. They would sit on the ground like rocks because they're like, you can't use them. Who cares if they're diamonds? Who cares? There's no one that takes diamonds, so they're worthless. It's the same as plastic. That's what we do. It's just like our existence reveals the value in the material. Just by being there. And it's kind of that incentivization and gamification around it too, because it's the value reveal. Because because we got to play with it as well, because it's actually not even that simple. Because even in areas of poverty, then there's different levels of poverty. There's different levels of shame associated with collecting material. So how do we love people to such an extent that they see the value and they get past the stories and thoughts of other people, and that's why schools as collection locations are so important for us, so that they teach the children to engage the parents, and the parents take the household plastic. They don't scavenge through the streets. They just take the household material, or maybe some other family members' material, and they go to the school, and same bank branch system. And it's deposited into their account. Now they can pay the school tuition with it immediately. So they don't have to take the pennies out of their pocket to pay for school tuition. So, all of the paradigms inside of that, like the child gets to understand that stewarding the environment is what ended poverty. So do the parents. So does the community. And then the parent, has this new sense of identity and worth. They have the ability to provide more. There's more hope. There's just so much inside of it. The school as well, they make some money because they're the branch location. So there's money there as well. They're an aggregator. So the school has more money. The parents have more money. The child gets tuition paid for. It's just all of it. It's like win, 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 win. All the plastic is collected. It becomes new again. Everything wins. That's the paradigm in all of it. How do I have everybody win in the world?
Tell me about your spiritual practices, what have you done to become who you are today? There's a lot of philosophy in what you say. There's a lot of grounding in spiritual disciplines that I practice also. But it takes either an epiphany, an awakening to get there, or years of study and earnestness. So tell me about this evolution of David Katz.
It really came that it was like May the 11th, 2013 when I had the idea. And it was kind of like the silent voice. I didn't recognize it as consciousness. But there was I like the Leonard Cohen song, and part of the lines is, it's the crack that lets the light get in. So that crack, here's, if I was to go back to it, that was that very moment of it all. That's where it all began. That's where the plastic bank began. It was that kind of quiet, no emotion, no story, nothing good, nothing wrong, just an awakening. And that's led me into all kinds of work. And it's led me into this place of the infinite, of the being, of creation, of creating. And it's led me into study of Old Testament. It's led me into study, consciousness. It's led me into the study of Buddhism. It's then led me into the study of so many things that I find, the mysticism in it, I find, and I get to take away, now I see what's in it. I don't look at it as anything religious. I look at it as, where's the gift? Where's the lesson in here for me? What can I look at without story that has me accept it and see it as the beautiful gift that it is? So it's more about putting down, and I express it often that it's not about overcoming anything. It's not about, I'm a survivor. It's like, that's not me anymore. I put that down. It's not that was there, but I don't need to carry it with me still. So, there's the lightness of being.
The lightness of being, of letting go who you were.
Correct.
To see who you can become.
I guess, but I would say that it's more about just, so what occurs for me is that when we find ourselves a way, when we are attached to a way, a being, a thinking, that is very finite. And we exist as the universe experiencing itself in an infinite universe. And so when I attach myself to finite, I give up the infinite. I give up everything else. And why would I give up everything else that I could be right over being wronged when I was a child by my uncle, aunt, friend, whatever it was? There's just so much more available in the infinite. The infinite is available in the infinite, as opposed to the finite thought and conversation that someone did me wrong. Like, what? And so I don't know, it started that day, and I've just been in this beautiful, powerful journey. I even have a, I have a beautiful coach, like just going to my roots. Like I'd never have considered myself, I still wouldn't consider myself religious, but I would have never even considered myself Jewish before, ever. I was raised in a Judaic family, but I refuted it. It's like, not me, don't like the injustice that's occurring, racist, everything else, just, ugh. But now I just see the beauty and the mysticism in it. I have a rabbinical coach once a week, and I get to delve into it and go, okay, what's the gift in that? What's that? And what's this? And oh my goodness, like, oh, what? Like, we began, now is our fifth week of, for the first time in my life, I'm 52, my fifth week of actually practicing the Sabbath. And like shutting down everything from Friday night to Saturday night, no phones, no electronics, no creating anything, no cooking, no zero, just being with my family and receiving. And so what's in the Sabbath is this place just to receive, like to not to, I'm in the knowing that the greater that we receive, more giving, more gift is perpetuated. Because when we receive powerfully, the giver wants to give more. And so it provides a space to be in the receiving, and I'll go, oh my God, I love my family. I'm with my family. I'm receiving you. I'm receiving the beautiful food. I've received my dog. I received the house. We're in the backyard. I receive the beauty of nature. And I receive, and it's so beautiful. And it's so, at the end of it, it's like, it's just like, oh, it's just calm. And like, my partner / wife, she was Italian, Jewish, but she's like super into it now because it's like a life hack. It is an absolute life hack. And like, what? Like, I haven't been doing this? Are you kidding? And even on the Friday, because you kind of prepare to get ready for the Saturday, because cooking on Saturday, so you got to get everything cooking done, the house is clean. And so what we're discovering now is like, oh my goodness, more in our lives are being completed. Like we're completing more. Like, oh, what? So correlation, causation, I don't know, but I'm just going to accept it as the beautiful gift of it all. And like, oh, we get to complete more. Obviously, when we're rushing to complete, we complete, and then we receive, and then there's more to complete. And so just the effectiveness, human effectiveness is increasing. It's so beautiful. Like it's not religious. Like stop trying to put some dogma around it somehow. It's just beautiful. It's just love. It's love filled. It's infinite and gorgeous.
My son is in yeshiva in Jerusalem.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And he and I have these in-depth conversations, and I'm much more Buddhist oneness. Sure. more I'll go more California than Jerusalem.
Sure.
But we have conversations, and what he's learning and exploring there is no different than anything I've experienced in my world. And we're able to have these deep conversations, and the rabbis there are so giddy about our conversations and our relationship. It's really beautiful. So he's coming home for a month and a half, and he's coming home, and he's basically a rabbi, and a Chabad rabbi, like not just lightweight.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
It's really kind of fun to see the beauty in some of that old.
There's a lot. You have to look again. What's the gift here? What's the gift in that? What's the gift in that? See, not to place judgment on it, but to look at it and go, where inside of this is the beauty, the infinite, the love, the infinite love? Where? Look. If you don't see it yet, it's something you got to put down. If you don't see it, it's not it. It's you. Always.
So I'm basking in all of this, but I'm going to move this into a linear fashion here, because you said something about Plastic Bank and your businesses grow in proportion to how much work you did on yourself. How you grew, who you were, is how your companies went. Yeah. And I kind of want to use this as a selling point to all the business people who are listening to us right now, that all the work you do on yourself really does ripple into the organization.
Yes.
How have you?
Well, that's the company will only grow in proportion to who I am in the company. That's my whole role in the company, is to bring the consciousness forward. And like even with the Sabbath, like I've got a whole bunch of other staff that are now playing with the Sabbath. Like, okay, they're no one else said, well, I think there's a couple of another Jew in it, but nobody else, like they're all like, oh, okay, what's in it? So like, oh, great. So just a different level of being. So the more grateful that I can have the staff become for everything, the more there is to be given. All of it, just super beautiful. right? It's just that's it. It's who am I in the world? Like, how many times have we come across like some sort of, system or some methodology or something like, oh, grow your business by do, Six Sigma or I don't know, whatever. Like, no, that's not a being, that's a doing. And the doing is an attachment to something. You're doing because you think it's right. You already have a judgment over, you have a resistance over not doing it, all those other things. Of course, it's not infinite. So it's really great. It'll get you some success. But if you want success in life, it's about your being. You have to be the person in the world. That's like the Gandhi quote that I have. You have to be the change you wish to see in the world, right? You have to being. It's your soul. I'm not even sure if I can express it powerfully. It's not about your actions. It's your being, your sense, where you operate from, where you communicate from, where you invite people from, where you create from. It's in the being. Like within the plastic bank, my being is in a world without waste. My being is that we've created a monetary standard for the world. My being is this network of this collaboration where the world is participating in something powerful and profound. That's my being. And then I just invite people into that being. I often say that, when I had the idea, I saw a temple. And I stood in the doorway of the temple. And I saw what was inside the temple. And I just invite people in. Because I didn't create anything. I didn't create anything. Zero. I just saw a different way of being. I just saw a different paradigm. Just saw a different place, that's all. And I just tell people about it. Like, it's amazing over there. So I feel like I'm evangelical almost, which is not what I want to be. But it's really beautiful. And then when people step into the space of the infinite, it's amazing because the place we're in is just all about abundance. It's all about, oh, how do I have you become more abundant? So all the material we collect, we sell to big brands. Like, go buy a bottle of Windex. That's our material. It's got our logo on it. Hugo Boss, Coca-Cola, Gillette, all kinds. Like, we're killing it. We're just shipping mass volumes of material for manufacturing. And the brands put us in their packaging and on their packaging because we provide the heart and the spirit and the soul inside of it. Because how do you give a razor soul? How do you give,
And it's not by fighting it, it's by you
exactly. Exactly.
Partnered.
Exactly. What you resist persists. We couldn't resist it. I couldn't go, oh, that shouldn't be happening. Like so many other environmental advocates, like I think the uniqueness with me is like, I'm a global champion for the environment. Like I'm an environmentalist, but I'm pragmatic. Right? Where all the other ones are righteous. Like, no, it shouldn't be this way. It should be that way. And like, you didn't do it good enough. Like, what? Oh, are you kidding me? You didn't do it good enough. Like, how many times have we hear that? Like from our brands, oh no, you shouldn't be using plastic at all. Like, you're horrible. It's green. Oh my goodness. It's a start. It's beautiful. It's powerful. It's the seed of change. Like, how many amazing ideas. Like, this has been relevant for me a little while too. It's like, how many world-changing ideas, like soul-shifting, life-shifting, like just like profound changes in the world died because the person who had the idea was afraid to make a mistake. More than exists today, for sure.
Right.
Because only the brave follow through.
So how do you overcome that? So I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and business leaders who have ideas. Yeah. And the ideas just feel too big for them, or the ideas feel like they should be 10 years from now because they're working on their businesses right now and they'll get to that.
Sure. Ego.
How do you have conversations and help people get over the hump with that?
Well, I also live in the knowing that a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So, I can't tell you to do anything. So, okay, but if you're coming and you're seeking something, and I can share from my being the way that I did it, and it creates a space for you to go, oh, I could do that too, then that's different. But I can't make anyone do anything.
That's so fun. I'm a coach. That's what I do for a living. And I talk to people, and I can't tell anybody and get anybody to do anything they don't want to do. I either have to show them, reveal something or something, and then then maybe they'll take their own advice.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. For me, for being the entrepreneur, I get it from the, entrepreneurs organization, being in forums for years, this philosophy of Gestalt, where we don't, you're in this big, powerful, you're in a group of your peers, and issues are brought up, and we don't tell people what to do. You can't tell an entrepreneur what to do. They're like, F you, mother, you can't tell them what to do, but you share your own story. You say, oh, I encountered something like that once. This is how I got through it. This is how I overcame that. And then people can take from themselves what's in it. I can only share and be authentic in my share. Right? I can just be my authenticity.
You are that. And earlier you said, you're not sure you could convey what you're trying to say, but every pore of your being conveys what you're trying to say. So this is absolutely a joy. So if people want to help and get involved with Plastic Bank and make a difference, how can they do that?
What everyone has to do is not do anything other than go into a store and be an advocate for humanity, and ask, in the store, and ask for the manager and say, would you please point out those things that are made from regenerative materials, point out those things that are helping society, show me which products you have that will make the world better by buying them, because I want to buy all of them.
I know. Why is that a revelation to me? That was an absolutely new thought to me. So thank you for that.
Oh, it's beautiful, right? Like, if you want to make change, go and exhibit the demand, because that retailer then goes to their suppliers and they say, oh, the customers are asking for this. That's how it changes. That's it. That is the world. Every time you buy something, you vote for it, period. You keep buying stuff that's killing the planet, that's what's going to unfold. You can't even be listening or have been in the conversation. Yeah, someone's going to do something about what's happening in the ocean, and then buy things that deplete it. Stop. So that's what I need you to do. Who cares about anything else? And if you've already done that and then want to go to plasticbank.com and enroll and stuff, then all the resources are there. But I give a rat's butt about that. I want you to go and create the demand. I want you to go and tell stores that they need to buy our material and make change in the world and participate and see, that's the being that I ask for as well. Like, when you're in the store and you're talking to the manager, that's your being asking. You're asking from that being, and it creates the space for the manager to be in the being, and it creates a space for anyone else listening to be in the being. And it makes it safe for other people to ask too. Like, oh yeah, the guy in the store, he was asking, like, oh, no, okay, got it. So that's what I need everybody to do. Everybody. You want to make change? Let's do it together. It's gathering the world together. That's what we do. It's the core value of the company. Gather together. Right? It's us against them. It truly is. It's us against public companies. It's us against shareholders that are looking for them above all else. The short-sightedness of it all. I have a luxury boat. I don't care if the world dies in the next generation. I lived. What? Please. And the structure of that has to change. The fiduciary duty of the CEO to serve shareholders at the expense of all else has to change. And it changes from the inside, because they're recognizing now that they can't hire staff, that nobody wants to work at a company that's killing the earth. And so they're trying to iterate quickly, and they have to, powerfully. And that didn't come from the shareholders. It came from society. It came from the Greta movement. It's coming from Sea Shepherd, is coming from everyone else. It says enough.
Comes from necessity, pragmatism. We're not going to be here.
And that's, I was storing over, Earth Day and World Oceans Day. Like, it's what? Earth Day? Really? No, it's Save Humanity Day. The Earth is going to be just fine. People ask me, what do I think? Oh, I see it. The ocean is going to be teeming. There will be more life in the ocean than there's ever been. The environment going to reclaim. It's going to be so abundant. This proliferation of species. Wow, it's going to be beautiful. I just don't think we're going to be here. The Earth is going to be amazing. Earth Day. Really, I mean, we should call it what it is, like Save Humanity Day.
No question.
That's it. So, again, so it's like, oh, man, the paradigm, come on, it's pragmatic. Woo! So much to do. And I need an army of we need like an army of people doing what we're doing. Like I don't have any competitors yet. Like what? Like what are you talking about? Like we need to. And then even in our model, I'm just riffing here now. It's like even in the model, like if we're gonna have a competitor, because we want to own the supply chain. So ultimately it's the collectors and about having, tens of thousands of collectors that are bringing in material weekly. So like they're always bringing material. So the only way to compete with that collector network is ultimately to pay them more. Because they'll give their material to whoever pays them the most. So I'm so inspired by that. Like if you want to come compete with us, you got to pay the poor more than what we pay. Well, that's remarkable. And if you figured out some way to do that, then I need to figure that out too. Like what? For sure we need to. So like, great, competition builds abundance as well. Competition helps change the world even more powerfully. Competition ends poverty more powerfully. It's crazy. So it's just a way of thinking. Like it's not anything that I've done. I haven't created anything. It's not like I went and I built some process, or it wasn't like I built some, I didn't bend the laws of physics. I didn't do anything.
You definitely bent some law. You bent the laws of consciousness.
Consciousness, sure.
Again, if again in listening to this conversation, if you think it's about plastic, and if you think it's about business, you've missed the point of this conversation.
Thank you. Yes.
David, I could go on for hours with you, but what I really want to make sure is that people go find. I'm going to put links to some of your other videos.
Yeah, go find us. Go. Yeah, thank you.
And Plastic Bank, because again, you talk about plastic, and something else transcends every conversation I've seen you have, and I appreciate who you are, and I appreciate you sharing with our listeners.
Thank you for seeing me. It was beautiful, Mark. Thank you.
And to everybody else, thank you for spending the time. I'm going to listen to this again because it was something very profound happened in this conversation for me, and I hope for you also. Thank you for taking your time. I love you. Have a great rest of the day.